Happy 10th day of the book club. Maybe I'll edit in some music there if I figure out how to. But I'm so excited that you are back for our 10th session of the one and only Ivan. It's a book that has become one of my absolute favorites, and I know my students are loving following along. Now, if you are someone who doesn't have the book at home, I found out that the archive that we emailed out to you actually has the one and only Ivan for you to follow along to. I know Sophia's been doing that. So I'll make sure to send that link to you in our Google Classroom so you can read along. Okay, we are back to continue reading about Ruby and Ivan and about Stella, Bob, and our friends at the Big Top Mall. We left off on page 97. It's titled Children, and we will continue there. Once I asked Stella if she'd ever had any babies. She shook her head. I never had the opportunity. You would have made a great mother, I told her. Thank you, Ivan, Stella said, clearly pleased. I like to think so. Having young ones is a big responsibility. You have to teach them how to take mud baths, of course, and empathize the importance of fiber in their diet. She looked away, contemplating. Elephants are excellent at contemplating. I think the hardest part of being a parent, Stella added after a while, would be keeping your babies safe from harm, protecting them. The way silverbacks do in the jungle, I said. Exactly, Stella nodded. You would have been good at protecting too, I said confidently. I'm not so sure, Stella said, gazing at the iron bars surrounding her. I'm not sure at all. So we got to hear Stella talk about the fact that she's never had a baby before and that one of her biggest concerns if she was a mother was being able to protect her young from harm. And I think that harm that she's talking about is the harm of humans, the harm of people hunting them or capturing them and taking them to zoos like she is located in. I think she's being a little hard on herself because I think she would be a great mama. Page 99, the parking lot. Mac and George are chatting while George cleans one of my windows. George, Mac says, frowning, there's something wrong with the parking lot. George sighs, I'll take a look as soon as I'm done with this window. What's the problem? There are cars in it. That's what's wrong. Cars, George! Mac breaks into a grin. I think things are actually starting to pick up a bit. It's gotta be the billboard. People see the baby elephant and they just have to stop and spend their hard-earned cash. I hope so, George says. We sure could use the business. And that's a conflicting statement there. What do you think? So think in your head, think to someone if they're around you. Do you feel excited that people are coming to the Big Top Mall because it's going to bring money to Mac and to Ivan and Stella? Hopefully their treatment may improve. Or do you feel like, I don't want this to happen at all. I don't want people to come to the Big Top Mall because it's not right that the animals are there in the first place. What do you feel? I'll tell you how I feel at the end of this reading. Mac's right. I have noticed more visitors coming since he and George added the picture of Ruby to the sign. People crowd around Ruby and Stella's domain, oohing and awing at the sight of such a tiny elephant. I gaze out at the huge sign that makes humans stop and spend their hard-earned cash. I have to admit that the picture of Ruby is rather cute, even if she doesn't look like a real elephant. I wonder if Mac could add a little red hat and a curly tail to the picture of me. Maybe then more visitors would stop by my domain. I could use a few oohs and ahs myself. Ivan's feeling a little insecure. He's feeling a little lonely. He's feeling a little neglected. And he never liked that picture of himself on the billboard anyway. 101, we're in the hundreds now. Ruby's story. Oh, I'm excited. Ivan, tell me another joke, please, Ruby begs after the 2 o'clock show. I think I may have run out of jokes, I admit. A story then, Ruby says. Aunt Stella's sleeping and there's nothing to do. I tap my chin. I'm trying hard to think, but when I gaze up at the food court skylight, I'm mesmerized by the elephant-colored clouds galloping past. Ruby taps her foot impatiently. I know. I'll tell you a story, she says. A real, live, true one. Good idea, I say. What is it about? So Ruby's going to tell us a story. It's about me, Ruby lowers her voice. It's about me and how I fell into a hole, a big hole. Humans dug it. Oh no. Grab your tissues, friends. This may be a sad one. Bob pricks his ears and joins me by the window. I always enjoy a good digging story, he says. It was a big hole, full of water near a village, Ruby says. I don't know why humans made it. Sometimes you just need to dig for the sake of digging, Bob reflects. He's a dog. We know dogs like to dig. We were looking for food, Ruby says, my family and I, but I wandered off and got lost and went too close to the village. Ruby looks at me, eyes wide. I was so scared when I fell into that hole. Of course you were, I say. I would have been scared too. Me too, Bob admits. Man, I like holes. The hole was huge. Ruby pokes her trunk between the bars and makes a circle in the air. And guess what? She doesn't wait for an answer. The water was all the way up to my neck, and I was sure I was going to die. I shudder. What happened then? I asked. I'll tell you what happened, Bob says darkly. They captured her and put her in a box and shipped her off, and here she is, just like they did with Stella. He pauses to scratch an ear. Humans. Rats have bigger hearts. Roaches have kinder souls. Flies have... No, Bob, Ruby interrupts. You're wrong. These humans helped me. When they saw I was trapped, they grabbed ropes and they made loops around my neck and my tummy. The whole entire village helped, even little kids and grandmas and grandpas, and they all pulled and... Ruby stops. Her lashes are wet. What do you think's happening there? Her lashes are wet. She's probably crying. And I know she must be remembering all the terrible feelings from that day. And they saved me, she finishes in a whisper. Bob blinks. They saved you? He repeats. When I was finally out, everybody cheered, Ruby says, and the children fed me fruit. And then all those humans led me back to my family. It took the whole day to find them. No way, Bob says, still doubtful. It's true, says Ruby. Every word. Of course it's true, I say. I've heard rescue stories like that before. It's Stella's voice. So Stella must have woken up. She sounds weary. Slowly she makes her way over to Ruby. Humans can surprise you sometimes. An unpredictable species, Homo sapiens. That's what we are. We are Homo sapiens. Bob still looks unconvinced. But Ruby's here now, he points out. If humans are so swell, who did that to her? I sent Bob a grumpy look. Sometimes he doesn't know when to keep quiet. Ruby swallows, and I'm afraid she's going to cry. But when she speaks, her voice is strong. Bad humans killed my family, and bad humans sent me here. But that day in the hole, it was humans who saved me. Ruby leans her head on Stella's shoulder. Those humans were good. It doesn't make any sense, Bob says. I just don't understand them. I never will. You're not alone, I say, and I turn my gaze back to the racing gray clouds. Okay, we're going to end there. That was on page 105 because tomorrow is a very special session for the one and only Ivan when we hear a little bit about Ruby's first show in the zoo at the Big Top Mall. I just want to talk about Ruby's story. I've talked on here a lot about the importance of animals and the importance of protecting animals and being an advocate for their treatment. Now, my students know what an advocate is, but an advocate is someone who stands up for others that are in need or stands up for proper treatment or for people to be kind or to act up or do something. Advocates are people who are brave even when doing it is a little scary. And this book really, really, really inspires the advocate in me. I love animals. I have Benji and I have Max, and I care so much about dogs and their treatment. And I'm an advocate for dogs, but this book makes me want to stand up for other animals too, wild animals. And I love that Stella talks about humans and how sometimes they can be good and sometimes they can be bad. Because it's easy for us to read this book and feel like, oh, not all humans are bad. This is so silly. I don't want to listen to this. I don't want to read this anymore. But not all humans are good. And I think it takes a really big person to admit that. It's still a little sad, but I take comfort in knowing that there were good people that interacted with Ruby and stood up for her, fought for her. I think I would too if I had the chance. And I'm hoping that all this conversation about her treatment and about all of her memories, Stella, Ruby, Ivan, and Bob, that maybe there is a good human that comes into this story. Because I'm not too sure that Mac is one. And to go back to our first question, I'm not very happy that people are coming to visit. I know it means more money, but I just think it's another opportunity for Mac to hurt the animals or not treat them as well or use them to make money. We'll have to see. So if you're in my class, make sure to fill out the Google form below. If you're not in my class, you can subscribe to my YouTube channel to know when a new video is uploaded. And you can follow me on my Instagram at Miss Pugz with a Z to see what's going on in my online classroom and my in real life classroom eventually. And I will see you tomorrow.